Hi friends, and welcome to ScreenVomit, the only movie podcast for normal people. I'm of course your host Kayla, and I have a huge ep today, folks. Maybe the hugest of all time, some would say. I got some crap to say up top. First of all, let me get my plugs out of the way. If you like the show, you can find me on Instagram and everywhere else at ScreenVomit. One word on all the stuff. I have gorgeous t-shirts, a box full of them, in fact, that I'd love to sell. The links to all that is in the show notes or in all my bios on everything. Okay, so that out of the way. This is the 5-year anniversary of ScreenVomit. I can't believe 5 years. 5 years ago when I started this podcast with my friend Colin at the time, who used to co-host with me, we just never could have anticipated. I never could have anticipated how much it would grow and how many people it would reach, and that I would have access even to ever talk to half of the people that I have already talked to. It's just so fucking sick to me. So I just want to say this thing brings me so much joy, and I have so much fun doing it. And I am so grateful to people who listen or who don't listen, who just follow the Instagram, or just having an outlet for me to disperse like this weird sickness I have where I'm addicted to short films and weird little indie films and just film in general, really. Just having an outlet for that and a community to receive it is it's so cool to me. So Earnestness Bonanza, I am so just grateful for everyone's support. Also, minor announcement, it is my birthday in the coming weekend. If you're listening to this the first week of April, tell me happy birthday. Secondly, okay, so I might cry. This is my 5-year anniversary. I think that's a pretty huge milestone. And the guest I have today, I really am going to cry. I'm so happy that I was able to get this guest for the podcast today. His work has just... I have talked to a lot of filmmakers or film adjacent folks that I truly admire over these 5 years. But my guest today, who is JOEL Potrykus, has undeniably had the largest impact on my personal film journey. Folks, I am talking to writer, director, filmmaker of the films Relaxer, Buzzard, Ape, Alchemist Cookbook. I'm talking to JOEL Potrykus. I was absolutely blacked out with anxiety, maybe the first 15 or 20 minutes, but I had to tell him how much his work meant to me, and I still don't even really know if I have communicated it. But he is, in addition to being a filmmaker, he's a film professor, and he's such a good teacher and so passionate about the subject that he has sort of provided me with a film education just by like osmosis of that energy. And I was so inspired by his films. His first film that I saw was Relaxer, which we did on the podcast in 2020. And I was so inspired by Relaxer. I'd never seen anything like it, and it just like hit some kind of chord in my bones of like something I didn't know I needed, but like was just obsessed with. And I'd never seen anything like it. So that just really like got me so excited that I sought out every single piece of anything I could find, writing that they had done, written interviews, podcasts, articles, anything I could find on these people basically, and on JOEL. Sought out every like film inspiration he ever cited, or just any films that he mentioned liking or whatever, and it just led me down such a glorious rabbit hole of film. And I've just found so many amazing films through that journey, or 2 degrees connected to that journey. There's, like I say in the episode, there's got to be hundreds of films that I could trace back to JOEL or one of his films directly, like 2 degrees of separation. So a lot of people know me as like a short film freak, and Relaxer was actually the genesis of my journey with short films, because I had watched a couple short films from people involved with the film for my research for the podcast that I did on it. And those films were like so amazing and they were so exciting. And I was like, there's no reason why I don't have 5 to 15 minutes in a day that I couldn't watch a short film every day. So that was actually like the genesis of my short film journey, which, as I say in the episode, 4 years ago I did that episode, and I made a personal goal to watch a short film I've never seen every single day. And in 4 years, I've maybe missed like 3 or 4 days, and most of those are within this last year. So I'm watching hundreds of shorts a year now, and that's all like traced back to Relaxer to me. So there just couldn't be like a filmmaker who has had more of an impact on my journey. And I would also encourage anyone who has a passion for DIY film to like look into Joel and Sob Noise, which is his kind of production group. They call it a filmmaking band, and into their style. Like, it's true DIY, like Hellraiser filmmaking, like just doing like literally whatever you had to do to make a film, even with absolutely no means, just because you have like a love of filmmaking in your heart. And like, that's so fucking sick. So, him and what he does is just like so inspirational to me. So it's like, if you've listened to the podcast over these years, like, how cool this is to me. So like, on top of it being my 5-year anniversary, which is just really fucking cool, having basically the coolest filmmaker I can possibly think of as the guest, like, and just having the opportunity to like sort of even tip the iceberg of telling him how important his work has been to me. Like, that's so cool. God, I'm being so earnest. So I just want y'all to know where I am when when we go into this episode, because it is just couldn't be huger for me. Joel and I have been trying to work out a recording for actually years at this point, but our schedules we have opposing schedules, and he has a baby, and we're both kind of doing our own thing, so just hasn't worked out. But I'm so glad we could work it out for today. Like, I just don't even know what could be cooler than this. You can absolutely hear how like just joyful and giddy I am in the episode. Just imagine, as much as you hear me, going giggle mode ultra in the background, imagine that I have edited out 50 to 75% of my own laughter from this episode, because I was just so excited, and I am a heart on my sleeve person, and there's just no hiding it when I feel something especially strongly. So we start off doing a little bit of a show and tell of our own props and memorabilia from his films. I am going to put that little clip of video on YouTube. It might take me a day after this episode has come out, though, but I just had to leave it in. It was so fun, just us showing each other our props. So that video will be on the ScreenVomit YouTube. I'm just so excited. Okay, so here is my episode with Joel Potrykus.
Can I see your relaxer tattoo?
Yes. Hold on. It's on my leg. I might have to take off my headphones.
Okay. Wow, that is crazy. Oh my gosh.
I can't get the thing any closer. My camera.
No, I've seen the photo and everything.
The gist?
Yeah, that is so awesome.
Okay, I'm back in. I'm basically sitting here in a shrine to your movies. I got...
What else do you have?
My Buzzard pillow. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, the t-shirt.
Uh-huh. I made it into
That's
a pillow.
awesome.
It's there. My Fright Flicks cards are right here.
Oh, my gosh, they're framed.
They're framed in a reversible frame, so I can read the back.
Wait,
I have them Velcroed to the wall. So
can I see which ones you have again?
I don't know if you can see it in the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hello, sex line. I'm feeling horny.
Yeah. May the farts be with you.
And nip the tip and let it rip.
Deleted scene.
Uh-huh.
That's a deleted scene, man.
Oh.
Well,
And
then look what I've got.
Right next to it, my big Buzzard screen print
Oh
poster.
my goodness.
I got your shit all over my living room, to be honest, but you already know. We just show each other our collections.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I have a Buzzard lobby card I bought on eBay.
What? Oh my gosh. That is so amazing. Don't buy stuff on eBay. I'll just send you some stuff.
You can. I will take anything you send me.
Yeah, I've got to send you more cards to fill
I would
out your
love more
collection.
cards.
There's one really rare one, and I don't think I have it anymore.
They're all really rare. You can't find them.
Well, there was one that was like if we made 100 of each of them, we only made like 20 of one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You almost can't find evidence that they even exist, like Googling them or anything. Like it's so hard to find. I got my first one just from like a random Oscope order. They threw it in with it. And then Mike Saunders sent me 2 of them.
Oh, what did you order from Oscilloscope?
I have everything that you have made. What do you mean?
Oh, the shirt. Did it come with a shirt?
It did not come with the shirt. I do know that. It was one of the movies, one of the DVDs or Blu-rays.
Oh, okay, DVD. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Everything that is made that I could find, I do own. So not to be weird about it, but I have a little bit of a collection.
That's amazing. No, that's so cool. No one has collections of this stuff.
Well, I do, and I'm stoked about it.
I am too.
Well, I'm glad.
Kayla, where do you live?
I live currently in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
For a time, I lived in Chicago, and I'm on my way to moving to LA. So.
Oh, really? Why are you moving to LA?
Firstly, I am just a city boy in my heart. Like, I need to be in more of a city, and Indianapolis is just kind of not hitting for me. Indianapolis is my hometown. So like I grew up here, and then I moved to Chicago for a few years, and then right after pandemic moved back. It was, job was weird, living situation was weird. It's too expensive to live there when can't do anything. So I moved back thinking it would be temporary, and so I was picking a new place to live, and I landed in LA. I was between LA and New York for a long time. I love New York more, and I would love to live there more, but it seems too complicated to figure out.
Yeah,
with like
expensive
housing
too.
And the jobs, which is seeming too complicated.
Indianapolis, don't you get some cool horror conventions occasionally in Indianapolis?
Yeah. I used to go to one called Horror Hound. I went to like every single Horror Hound for like years, like every single one that happened. But I haven't been in a while. I just was looking at it recently. They have a cool one coming up in Cincy.
Next weekend, I'm going there, yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow, it looked awesome. But I no longer have a car now, so now getting other places. My car got stolen a month ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but
actually, while I was in New York City.
Don't you get a bunch of sweet insurance money for that?
$0 in insurance money because I had just paid off the car and switched my insurance to liability only like 2 months ago. So
motherfuckers,
I know.
Man.
So $0 in insurance, and it would cost me a boatload of money to even get it back because it is impounded. They like fucked up my car and then just like ditched it in the middle of the road. So it got impounded by the city for impeding traffic, but it's like all fucked up, and it's like an old car anyway. So it's like not even worth anything, but I'd have to pay to get it out of impound, pay to get it towed wherever, and then pay to get it fixed. It's just like not even worth that money.
Sucks, man. It just seems like the cops would be like, yeah, here's your car. We're not going to charge you. That doesn't...
You get like a once-in-a-lifetime write-off of having your car stolen, but it only covers part of it. So like it was going to cost me $360, and they knocked off $300. So it would still cost me $60, but then every day it goes up another $60 every day. So they knock off part of it, but it's still like the money keeps going up, and I'd still have to pay to get it towed out of there. And the impound's like in the middle of nowhere too, so it'd be like a far tow.
That sucks. Okay.
So I'm transit right now only,
yeah,
which is fine, but transit here is not amazing. And I've been back and forth to Chicago a couple times just on the bus or whatever, and it's not reliable and everything sucks. So would be nice to have a car, but we're figuring it out.
Okay.
I'm just kind of going without for a while till I move to LA, I think.
Yeah. When's that going to happen?
I'm not sure exactly, but hopefully before the end of the summer is kind of my goal. I just kind of been looking for a job and seeing what happens.
What's your line of work besides podcasting?
My real job right now is that I work for the state health department in HIV services. So like I help people living with HIV get access to free healthcare and medications and other services. So that's what I do now. My job that I would like to have, that what I'm good at, but I've never figured out how to get paid for is I'm good at being a promoter and like running venues and festivals and music and comedy and things like that. So
Yeah.
I did that for a really long time on the side for no money. But
Oh.
I feel like if there's a place I could get paid to do that job, LA would probably be that place.
Yeah.
So that would be ideal. But otherwise, I'm just kind of like, I'll take any job. The job is like, it doesn't matter to me. What I do after work has always been the thing that matters, you know?
Yep.
So, you know how it is.
Yep, I totally know that. Totally get it.
So that's me.
Yeah.
What's up with you?
Nothing's up with me. Just getting out of my senior thesis class. And
Yeah. Late class.
Yep, 6 to 9 every Monday.
Nice.
We watched the throat slitting in American Werewolf in London.
Hell yeah.
Because somebody said they were going to do a throat slit in their movie, and I was like, it's got to be great. It's got to be just as good as American Werewolf. They set the stage.
Yeah. So you had him study the throat
Yes.
slit. Hell yeah.
We studied it, for a few minutes and looked for seams in the makeup and color changes and things like that.
Nice. Hell yeah. All right. So this is my 5-year anniversary episode. So it's kind of a big episode for me, or it just feels like, I don't know, a milestone. Some would say I've been trying to get you on the pod for 4 of those years. So I'm excited that we finally figured it out.
Me too. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like we have conflicting schedules.
Yeah. You're a busy boy.
And this works for me because I don't go home, or like I don't need to be home on Monday night because I teach until 9.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like whatever. Like I have obligations usually in the evenings, but Monday nights I get a little slack because this is my commitment. So this works out. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to have you specifically be on my 5-year anniversary, just because your movies are so important to me and have taken me on such a journey with my own like film knowledge, my own film journey besides like your literal movies. You know, I was like so in love with Relaxer. We did Relaxer on the pod in 2020, I think, and just sought out after that. First of all the other ones of your movies, but basically any movie that I ever heard you talk about as an influence to directly your movies or just any movie you liked or anything like that. So I have seen so many movies and learned so much about film just from you talking about it.
Like what? Like what are these?
Well, different levels of film. So like more indie, more current stuff like Kaz Radwanski's films.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
The
Tower.
Joaos, like Ornithologist, Animal. What's the other movie with Ty Hickson? I watched that. Give Me the Loot.
Give Me the Loot. Yep.
Andre's movies.
Uh-huh.
Andre says hi, by the way. I just talked to him right before this.
Oh, is Andre doing an episode?
No, he hasn't yet, but we're just friends.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, Andre's the best. Have you seen The Death of Dick Long yet?
Yes, of course. I did The Death of Dick Long for the pod.
Oh, okay.
And then also just like more popular people, like all the Jim Jarmusch movies, Alan Clark, Exterminating Angel.
Cool.
I don't know. I could probably directly link. Oh, hell yeah. I could probably link like hundreds of films back to me watching Relaxer and being so inspired by it.
Well, it's an honor to finally do this then. Oh my gosh. We are overdue.
I also got super into short films from my research for Relaxer because I watched Andre's shorts and Jackson's short as part of my research for Relaxer. And since then, I made like a challenge to myself to watch at least one short film I've never seen before every single day. And that was 4 years ago, and I have done it every day.
Wow.
So
That's what'd you watch today?
Today I watched one. It's called Free Bench Must Pick Up Today. I think that's what it's called. But I post them on Instagram every single day. Let me see. I'm going to make sure that's what it was called. Actually, I watched 2 shorts. Free Bench Must Pick Up Today. That's what I watched this morning. And then I also watched Zombie Prom, which was written and directed by the same person who directed the movie that we're going to talk about today.
Oh, I have not seen Zombie Prom.
So just to say, your movies, even outside of your literal movies, have had such a huge influence on me and on my podcast. So it's really great because of all that you're here today. And so thanks.
All right. Thanks for having me, Kayla.
And sorry for being embarrassing for a little bit, but I have to get it out. So I want to know about your relationship with watching movies now, and also how did you get into DIY film, like watching?
Like watching them. I don't know.
Is it just by nature of making and then going to film fest?
I don't know. I'm just like anybody else. I just like movies, and because I like small movies by nature, because like I'm a lazy person. Like I'm not like I don't see Star Wars and go, yes, I want to make Star Wars. I see like a little Jim Jarmusch movie and go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like I can round up a few friends and make that. So I've always been into it's like you know, it's like no different than making music. And I've never listened to like an orchestra and been like, yeah, I want to round up some friends and figure out how to play the fucking oboe. It's like you see Nirvana and it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And so it's always been that way. So when I see a little movie, low budget, I'm like, that's so awesome that they did that. And so for me, it was like, why am I not doing that? Like I can do that. And so I'm just gravitate toward small things that seem achievable.
Yeah.
Like I love like Star Wars and all that stuff in 2001, but I've never been like, I want to make that, or I know how they did it, I'm going to do it. So for me, it's just like I love the handmade quality of art in general, where I can figure out, I can see the seams kind of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think going to festivals, you're just exposed to a lot of that stuff and forced to watch movies that you wouldn't watch because you hung out with the filmmaker the night before and be really rude if you didn't show up to their screening the next day. So like I do see a lot of stuff. But then I had a kid 6 years ago, and that like decreased, because I used to watch a movie every day, and that just kind of stopped when Little Solo was born. So now it's like it literally takes me like 2 or 3 nights to watch one movie, because I have such like a small window of free time, except for the one that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
So I maybe watch like a movie a week, which is just so horrible. But I'm glad I didn't have my kid until I was 40 years old. So it's okay. I had like 40 years to cram in a bunch of things that I was unemployed for many of those years.
Yeah.
Or maybe not unemployed, just like scraping by little jobs here. And so I watch movies at some point when I started making movies, like when I started like really getting real, like early 30s, when I was like, okay, you're old, and you're too old to just be like treating this like a hobby, start making movies for real. Maybe that's like late 20s. And so I just approached watching movies differently. I approached them as like homework. Like, Joel, you should be watching all of the Criterion collection, and it's not going to be as fun. Like a Tarkovsky movie is not as fun as Napoleon Dynamite, but you have to do it as like homework. And so I would change the way I watch movies, and just like I studied them, which sounds so kind of dorky and pretentious, but like taking notes during movies, going to the movie theater with a notepad. And so I try to watch every kind of movie now, so that I'm not just like watching these like dweeby little low budget indies. I'm like trying to take something from this movie that we're talking about tonight. Is there anything I can learn or steal from them? And so, and also since I teach film, and that kind of like just reprograms your brain, how you're watching. It's always analytical. So unfortunately, I can't really just sit back and enjoy a movie like I could years ago. But I appreciate them in a new way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love watching movies at a theater because I appreciate the theater experience now in ways that I used to not appreciate it. Mostly like I get 2 hours of undistracted inability to stop or fast forward or rewind. Like I'm forced to watch the movie as intended, folding out in the correct time period. So it used to just be like, oh, it's big and it's loud and it's dark and that's cool. But now it's like I just appreciate, after having been forced to like spend 2 or 3 days to watch a movie, that 2 hours of just being forced to now devote that time without a phone or any kind of distractions is just so amazing. It's great. And it's like going to church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no difference between the movie theater and church. And I am looking for, we go to the movie theater, we watch a movie to look for God. You know what I mean? Like, to feel something we've never.
We go to the movies to laugh, to cry.
Sure,
What
but
does
it's like
she say?
to see. I don't. Oh yeah, Nicole Kidman. She doesn't say. Nicole, you got to just say we go to the movies to find God. You know what I mean? To see something, to feel something we've never felt.
To stare in
see
the eyes of
something.
God.
Yeah, that is it. It's very Herzoggy, but that's I don't know where we're going, but that's my relationship with watching movies. I love it, and I treasure it. And going to the movie theater is so much more valuable to me now than it was before my son was born.
He's probably going to be soon old enough to watch cool movies with you.
He doesn't like movies. He just does not like movies in general. Even it's like, hey, you want to watch whatever, Pixar movies out. He's just like, I don't want to watch it. So that's cool. That's his thing, man. Like we let him choose what he wants to do. And
damn, what a shame. Maybe he'll change his mind.
Yeah, it's okay. Like when he was like, I used to be the dad who was like, I'm gonna show my kid Friday 13th Part 2 as when he's a kid, and I actually did like just set him down before he turned 1. It was like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I could see his eyes like he was watching, and I was like, this is terrible. What am I doing? Like it kind of reshaped the way I saw fatherhood, is instead of being like cool dad who's gonna show my kid Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like, no dude, I'm gonna hold off as long as possible, because I really do feel that movies desensitize you and warp your brain, man. Like I was a very happy, well-adjusted kid until I started listening to Kurt Cobain, and I really did I was like, oh yeah, I want to be dark like that. It made me dark, man, and maybe it was going to happen inevitably, but I want to preserve my son's innocence, and I do think that movies and music can make you go dark.
It was Kurt Cobain and not movies that made you dark.
Yeah, it was Kurt Cobain, 100%.
Okay, yep. Cool.
Yep, because you don't obsess over movies like you do music, because you can't just watch movies wherever you are. So it was like, I'm on the bus going to school, glued to like all this music, and everywhere I went, just like walking around the yard, listening to music, riding my bike, listening to music. It was just, It takes over. And also, I think when you're a teenager and you're like going through puberty, your hormones are like pretty spastic and all over the place, and you feel things deeper, and you fall in love harder, and you get angrier. And the older you get, you kind of mellow out. So like when you're a teenager and you're exposed to that kind of music or movies, I think it just like sticks with you a lot longer and is more, it just hits you and lasts longer than you would when you're like 25 or 35. So
yeah. So no Nirvana for your son until he's 35.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually saw like, American Werewolf in London and stuff when I was a little kid, and Exorcist and The Shining, and that never, it didn't like, it was fun and cool and spooky. So movies really didn't corrupt me. It was music for sure.
But you still worry about your son being corrupted by movies, by what did you say, Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah.
Or Friday the 13th or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah. Because he was, I don't know, at that time he was locked in and really taking it. I could see him.
He's too innocent and you were not.
Yeah. I don't know. It's complicated, man. Leave me alone.
I watched a lot of twisted stuff as a young child too.
Do you feel dark? Do you feel dark?
I think I definitely had a dark phase, but you know what? I'd probably have to agree that it was music that made me much darker than movies ever did. And like I watched a lot of, like, I watched Faces of Death and like Wishmaster and shit when I was very young. Like my earliest memories are like watching this stuff, and I thought it was fun. Like I don't really ever remember. The only movie that did like fuck me up as a kid was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I remember that one giving me real nightmares, and I still can't really watch a Freddy Krueger movie, even though I acknowledge that they're so dumb and everyone's like, oh, it's just so silly, and it just freaked me out. I watched that when I was 5 and at the babysitter's house, no less. But
no, they're I think they're freaky. Like Part 4, like if you're under the right circumstances, is like, that's freaky.
I just remember that one creeped me out, but most stuff really didn't. Or Serial Mom. That was like my first favorite movie was Serial Mom.
Oh, okay. But Faces of Death didn't freak you out? Because like Faces of Death is amazing. Like just the lore of that movie.
I only wasn't allowed to watch 2 scenes. One where a guy jumps off a building and kills himself, and then one where a guy gets electrocuted in an electric chair, I guess. I never saw him. But other than that, I was allowed to watch everything.
What does that mean? You watched Faces of Death like with your parents?
Oh, yeah, with my dad.
Whoa. Okay, so you had like a cool dad then.
Yeah, I had like such an insane childhood because my parents split up when I was a baby. And so my dad was like, let's watch everything fucked up. We're like Bachelor Life. We're like Beavis and Butthead, Faces of Death, like whatever. And then my mom was like, South Park is too dirty. Like, yeah. My mom was like so controlling over the content. Like one time I was with my mom and I had the radio on and they said come on the radio and I got grounded. And I'm like, it's the radio. I don't control what they say. It's like a rock station and they were talking about come. And so I got grounded. But my dad was like the opposite. And it was like I could do whatever I wanted, watch whatever. We'd watch it together. So I had like kind of both ends of the spectrum happening. But yeah, I watched most of the shit with my dad or got it from my dad. Or whatever. And then as I got older too, my dad owned like a secondhand CD store and eventually like started selling like VHS tapes and DVDs and stuff too. So I could just run in there and like grab whatever I wanted.
So that explains your origin. That's the origin story.
Yeah, that's sort of my origin, I guess.
That's pretty awesome.
And he also had like one of those TVs with like 9 billion channels, like way before anyone else did too. So I had access to like all these movie channels and then all these random, like I watched so many movies that like no one else has ever heard of just because I walked in there into this shop and like grabbed it or whatever and watched a lot. So yeah, that's my origin, I guess. But I don't feel fucked up from movies, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think movies did it.
Either. Yeah.
I don't think movies still do it, but some people do get that way. I know I made a friend watch Dogtooth not that long ago. Have you seen Dogtooth?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And she was like, I don't know how you watch this all the time because this is mentally disturbing to me. And I don't even find that movie disturbing at all, so...
Yeah, I don't know. The opening scene is like pretty like intense and strange,
there's a couple like weird things about it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that movie is mentally disturbing to me. I think
like but for most people that's like kind of an out there disturbing. I mean, not disturbing, but just like weird they would call it. Or
it's for sure it's weird, but
yeah. That's my favorite of Yorgos Lanthimos.
Me too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Dogtooth. Yeah. It's such a good film. Yeah, definitely I turned goth after hearing too much like punk rock and cool goth new metal or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, because that's like music is like lifestyle, and movies I never really considered like a lifestyle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen somebody and go like, oh, they're really into Taxi Driver. Like that's just like, but you see somebody like, oh, I bet they're really into NoFX or whatever.
Yeah, so true. All right, well, I think we can get to the movie if you wanna.
Oh boy, should I preface this like?
Well, you
preface it, whatever.
The 2018 film The Kissing Booth.
Did we pick it or did I pick it?
I would say that Joel picked this film. And so you can now explain why you did this to us.
Yeah, so it was like pick a movie from the last 10 years and you sent over a list and I looked and it was like, it was predictable, all of those movies. And I didn't want to just have a talk about, it was a great A24 movie.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't seem fun to me. I wanted to challenge myself and challenge you. And I don't even know why I picked Kissing Booth. It's just a movie that I'd heard about, somebody mention. And
How did you even find this, for sure?
I just heard somebody mention it. I was like, oh, that just sounds I don't know. That's not a movie I want to see. But I wanted to hear us talk about it. Because I also think that bad movies, like you learn, it comes back to the stupid studying movies, that you learn more from a bad movie than a good movie.
I think that can be true too. I agree.
I think bad movies like, this is what you shouldn't do. So I wanted to see what this Kissing Booth business was all about. And the weird thing is when I said it, and you were like, is this your final answer? And I was like, it took a while. I was like, yeah. And it was only until like a few days ago that I was like, I have to watch this movie now. And I was like, I have to actually watch it. And I think we watched it at the same time.
We did.
In different cities and different time zones.
We were vibing.
Yeah.
We both decided to pop on the flick at the exact same moment.
Yeah, because I Twittered you while I was watching it. Like,
you said, "Are you seeing this shit?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm literally, my eyes are seeing it at this exact moment." That's crazy.
Wild, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for a minute you were tossing back and forth some other movies, a couple indies, a couple, other types of movies.
Yeah, because I haven't seen those movies by the quote-unquote Addams family.
Yeah.
But they're kind of always in the back of my head, like, I should check those out. And then, of course, you had seen them already. And I was like,
I'd seen one.
This isn't as fun because Kayla's seen everything. What hasn't Kayla seen? And I was like, oh, I bet Kayla hasn't seen Kissing Booth.
But I also think that, like, not every movie I do for the podcast has to be good. I do also value conversation around bad movies.
But most people consider bad movies like Troll 2 or, The Room or something. This is a different genre
type
of bad movies.
But I think...
And I watched it, I went in with a totally open mind. Like, okay, because I like dorky movies sometimes.
Yeah.
Like... There's value in those. It's entertainment is entertainment and whatever.
Exactly. Not every movie has to be cinema, capital C. It can just be fun.
I was expecting an hour of 45 minutes of this is fun and this is great. I am having a good time and they're doing a great job at just being breezy and light and fun and silly. That's what I was hoping for. Especially because there's like a part 2 and a part 3. I was like, this is successful. It must work.
This is a trilogy.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So I don't know if you need to set up how we launch into this, but...
Okay, yeah. I will just run through the cast real quick, and the crew. This is written and directed by Vince Marcello, who seems like only does these type of teen movies, including Teen Beach, which is kind of a popular film, but he did the trilogy of Kissing Booth. This stars Joey King, who a lot of people know from The Act, playing Gypsy Rose on The Act. It stars Jacob Elordi, who people know now from Euphoria, Sweet East. He's also plays Elvis in the new Priscilla movie. And Joel Courtney, who I wasn't really familiar with. I guess he's in that movie Super 8, but I never watched it. But that is kind of a big movie. Critic scores. This has 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. Pretty low. However, Google users coming in hot at 89%, giving this a thumbs up. So pretty high, pretty surprising. And with that, we can get into the movie. This is a film adaptation of a novel written by a 15-year-old Welsh girl that was originally published on a platform called Wattpad, which I had never heard of, but it's apparently has over 90 million users that are primarily young women, and they just share like mostly fanfic type stuff. So this was published on there initially, written by this 15-year-old and adapted by, I don't know how old the man is, but probably in his 50s. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it seems that way. All right, opening the film. Do you have any opening thoughts?
Well, like I said, I went in really just looking for nice entertainment, some fun characters that just clips along, that maybe brought something original, and it had like a hook. Like, I think movies like this really need a hook. So I was like, this hook is going to be great.
Yeah.
I struggled with this movie right from the opening, like 5 seconds when she says her name is Elle Evans, and I was like, is that like 11? Is this what's the joke? Why is her name Elle Evans? And it's just like this incredibly lazy montage of her whole life. Like, it starts with her being
from
born.
Literally being born in the hospital, 2 nurses kissing the babies on the face.
Understand any of it, and I was like, within like 30 seconds, I was just kind of like, oh no. And I just think this is incredibly poor storytelling, filmmaking, everything. I was so disappointed that this isn't like, I don't get that, because I was like, okay, so what, you snobby critics, get over it with your 15%. I'm with the Google users, let's do this. And then I was just kind of like, oh, is this what people watch movies for? Is this what they're looking for? Because this is just it was just incompetent. Yeah. It was so incompetent. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, the first like 10 minutes, I think, are just this like montage of from literally the second that our 2 main characters were born to besties, all the way up until they are 16, juniors in high school. Montage of all of that time with just like voiceover and like chaotically switching scenes like every 2 seconds. There are so many different locations and so many different songs and so many, it's like a kind of overwhelming that first couple minutes. And also you get barely any information even through looking at their entire life.
Yeah, because I'm looking for characters. This should be a character piece. And like, oh, what is this? What are these characters? How are they different from other films? And I'm also, as I'm watching it, even in that first like few minutes, I'm like, okay, get over it, old man. Try to look at it through, try to look at it through the eyes of its intended audience. And then I just started to wonder what the intended audience was.
Yeah.
So we have like the lead character who is established, like you said, is supposed to be 16 years old. Mm-hmm. And we'll probably get into it, but she is clearly like set up to be this sexual being and taking off her shirt. She takes off her shirt 3 times. And so I'm like, okay, this movie...
The thing is, she just grew tits over the summer, is kind of what they're saying. The tits sprouted out of nowhere over the summer, so she suddenly has blossomed into a bosomed young woman.
But like, so the audience, what are we supposed to feel? Are we supposed to be titillated by this?
We're supposed to be horny by this young child.
So I was like, okay, the movie's maybe for 13-year-old boys. Like, is that the audience? And then I was like, but are 13-year-old boys into all this kind of like the girly fun stuff? So I was like, maybe it's for 13-year-old girls. And then I was like, but are they into this, what I perceive as just inappropriate behavior among you teenagers? Is this like, are moms like, oh yeah, let's take my children to see Kissing Booth? Is this a movie that is like kids are seeing without their parents knowing it? Like, is this the new Faces of Death? Is Kissing Booth because it's so promiscuous? Am I just a prude about this? I was just really trying to grapple with who this movie was made for, and I could never figure it out.
I
Clearly
think
it's not
we'll
me.
Stay grappling with that for the rest of our lives. I don't have an answer through all of it because I agree with you. And like I said, it's written by a 15-year-old girl, adapted by a 55-year-old man. It has flavors of both of them in here. Yeah. It really I couldn't tell you who the audience is supposed to be. I'm with you. I have no idea. Because
we see a lot of like sweaty or wet, shirtless Jacob Elordi. Mm-hmm. And then also we kind of get that from see a bunch of girls and their boobs and stuff. It was like, it felt too intentional for like, clearly like this is like, it felt like a commercial or something. It didn't feel like, I was thinking John Hughes, but again, I'm old and that's not what they're going for, but they're stealing so much from John Hughes, clearly. And, maybe early 2000s kind of teen comedies. So I just couldn't figure out tonally what they were going for ever, the whole movie, because I just think Elle, the lead character, is so, I never understood her, and she seemed dull and one-dimensional. I never knew what she wanted out of life. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They spend all this time like telling you their entire life stories from literally the second they're born up until 16, and they don't give you a single character trait except that they quote like to dance, by which they mean play DDR. And they don't even play it right.
Well, so, okay, let's go into that, because that's some of my, because the characters, they just want, like, sex, kind of. Like, there's no, I don't know what she wants to do when she want to go to college. Does she want to,
does she have a single interest at all?
Yeah, like.
do any of
all
them.
The characters, they just, like, are interested in each other, and that's all they have. So that DDR scene is such a cop-out, because we said.
Well, first of all, they're from LA, and they say, we have our favorite place to dance, and we figured out how to get there on our own. And their favorite place to quote unquote dance is the Santa Monica Pier, which they are going to alone from age like 7 or 8 until present day, which they're still only like 16, which isn't, that whole entire thing is insane.
Yeah. And then we get this, at some point in the movie, we get this big number.
Do kids even play DDR still?
I don't know.
I feel like it's not a thing. They're not mall goths. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Playing DDR arcade style, I think it's like $3 per game, too.
Yeah, you see them pumping in all those quarters at one point, and they have like this scene where they're supposed to, like, the friends are reconnecting over this DDR, and it is such a cop-out because it's just Dance Dance Revolution. It is nothing complex, and we get them dancing, and then we get their above the waist, and then it cuts to their feet. They're not even doing it. Like, they're going for this like moment from like Big or something where they're dancing on the keyboard. Yeah. But that's like spend a couple hours and rehearse. Like that's what made this movie feel so cheap and rushed, and that they did not give a shit, because that is a 1 hour rehearsal of get them to choreograph their movements together.
And they're supposed to have having been playing DDR since they were basically babies all the way till now. They should be better at it than what they are.
Like, just like give us a scene where we see the actors actually doing it, so we connect and go, okay, like we see. But no, they're just cutting to feet, cutting to their faces, and it's just like the filmmaking is just so dull and lazy.
Any DDR player can tell you they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, so I didn't trust anything that this director was doing, because like it was just felt half-assed and just cheating out of every moment.
Yeah.
That like you have this chance to do it, man. It's just so simple. Just get them to choreograph their moves together.
Let them learn one song.
Yeah, really. Like I was really like disappointed at like just those little moments that did not come through.
For sure.
Okay, but the premise of the film is that you meet Elle, and she's best friends with this kid, like neighbor, I don't know, that she was born the same time with, and he's got an older brother. Yeah. And as she starts to like develop,
as soon as she grows tits, she gets a crush.
Yeah, and he is like this like guy who needs, like, he's got like he's got like anger problems, and lashes out, and he like is a bully to his younger brother, giving him like super wedgies and like beating people up.
He's like a bully, but also a protector at the same time.
And this is the guy that she's grown up with around, and then the central, the film is revolving around her their like love connection that I never bought, because he looks like he's 10 years older than her. He looks
so much older, but character-wise, he's only 1 year older than them. He has to be in the next grade. If they're juniors and they go to the same school, he has to be a senior. He's only 1 year older.
Yeah, there's scenes where even the compositions are like he in real life, I think he's like, he's 6'5" or something. And she looks like she's 5 feet tall. And so her face and her height makes her look like this tiny little girl. And they're framing,
I wrote in my notes, he is too tall for this movie.
Yeah, at eye level. And she's like coming up to his like belly button.
Yes.
And it is like, are we supposed to feel like there's a connection between them in any way? And it just feels wrong and weird, and it feels predatory. And not once was I like, come on, just kiss, guys. Like, we're rooting for you. And I was like, is the audience supposed to be rooting for them? Because I don't understand their connection. And he just seems like an asshole, and who's like with every girl at the school and having sex with all of them. And
I thought the more it went on too, it started to feel really Twilight to me. Like, have you seen the Twilight movies at all?
Yeah, I have.
Because she's like a nice homely girl who's kind of like a little naive, especially sexually. And he's like this weird, like rough and tumble guy with like a hair trigger temper, and who's like weirdly aggressive and possessive of her. And also like he kind of looks like a weird alien, like how Edward Cullen did. Who's also like weirdly unattainable in the same way. Like, he's a fuckboy in this movie. Like, he is known for getting around, but he's not known for like having a girlfriend or like being in love,
Yeah. And if I had a daughter, I would not let her watch this movie. Like, there's that scene early on where
also, by the way, they were dating in real life when this movie was.
Really? Okay.
They broke up between the first and second kissing booths, but I just thought that was really interesting because, as you said, they have no chemistry. It's a very strange relationship between the two of them.
But there's that scene early on where she rips her pants for her school uniform, so she has to wear this mini
even
skirt
before that, The first scene where we're introduced to that older brother is her chilling at the pool, and he in her bikini or whatever, and he walks up and says, "Hey, Shelly, when'd you get the boobs?"
Yeah.
And this is the guy that you have a crush on.
Yeah, and then we're supposed to like be on their side. And early in the movie, she wears that like mini skirt, and it's like too short, and her like butt showing. And some guy, random guy in the parking lot, comes up and grabs her butt. And then
why is the skirt so tiny? Why are they allowed to wear this? They have uniforms at their school. Why mini skirt where like literally your underwear are hanging out? That's allowable.
And then her best friend is like, "Hey, don't do that. Stop." And then that guy tries to beat up her friend.
Yeah.
Cut to both of them. Then bad boy steps in. Cut to them both in detention. The girl, I can't even L.
Yeah.
And this guy. And he writes a note like, I'm sorry. And he's like, how can I make it up to you? And she's like, okay, you put on the mini skirt and get a good laugh and that'll be sweet. And that's all it took for you to forgive this guy who grabbed your butt.
Literally
and then tried
sexually
to
assaulted you.
beat up your best friend for sticking up for you. And I was like, okay, she has no agency. She is like the weakest character. She's poorly written. I don't like her. Why am I supposed to be on her side? I feel bad for this actor for even having to be in this position to be, like, and I'm like, am I just like an old man who's like prude or is this
so many times in this movie I felt embarrassed for her. I was like, I'm sorry that you had to do this movie. She seems to have a good relationship with it, but I'm like, honey,
I never watch movies and go like, this is problematic, or this is I don't like the way the characters are behaving. I never say that. This movie, like every 5 minutes, I was like,
that's how you know it's real.
This is wrong, man. Like I'm not celebrating this moment at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so she does set up a date with the guy who sexually assaulted her.
Yeah.
And in that same scene where she's like making him put on the miniskirt and being cute, I think that's the first time we see the older brother be jealous too. And what we find out is that he has told every guy in school, I guess, not to pursue her at all. So he has this weird like control thing over like who she can have a relationship with, as does his brother.
How sweet.
Yeah. It's actually so romantic.
And then you get the performances are so bonkers. Some of like the mean girls, those 3 mean girls who are the OMGs. Just like the OMGs, and they are just like caricatures putting on. I'm like trying to think of like the director going like, no, go further, go cartoonish. Is that their choice? Is that the director's choice? Because like that's okay as long as everybody's like that. But then Molly Ringwald is in this movie, and she does not belong in this movie, and she doesn't fit in because she's playing it totally straight.
She's too good for this.
she's just like a real human being, and then she's just juxtaposed with these actors who are just going gonzo, bonkers, silly performances, and I'm like, tonally, none of this makes any sense. But even like
she, like, bless her heart, Molly Ringwald is the only person bringing any kind of soul to this movie. But even her character is so like, she's like just like an obedient housewife type woman. Like,
she has nothing to do, no reason to be in the movie. She does not affect one action or decision in this movie.
She's just like wise mom. And then there's that one scene where like she interrupts the two of them, the girl and the older brother, banging or whatever, because she wants to get the laundry. And the son's like, Mom, I could have brought down the laundry. And she's like, no, I actually love doing laundry. Like, I'm obsessed with getting the dirty socks out of your room. So don't worry about it, honey. I had a free hour. I'd love to do your laundry. My 18-year-old child.
And she like reaches under the bed to find his sock, and Elle's there, and Elle's looking at a jar of Vaseline. And like, that's not how you do it. Like, Vaseline is not... That is
pro tip.
Yeah, and I don't even know what that means, because he's supposed to be like this ladies man who has sex all the time, and so that just makes it seem like he's
just honking off.
Yeah, he's just like crazy, like horny nonstop, and just can't control himself, which is just like these decisions are so bonkers, man.
She also we spend so much time with like the boys and their family. We barely ever see her house or her family at all. We find out like 45 minutes into the movie that she has a younger brother that is like never mentioned, I think, through the whole beginning part of the movie, and he appears for about 3 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
A whole ass younger brother that she has.
So at some point, they get to the kissing booth. And I got to tell you, I don't know why this movie's called Kissing Booth. It should just be called like Rules of Your Best Friend, because they have these strict rules.
Oh, yeah. So that's the whole thing. So we didn't really mention the rules yet, is that she has a crush on this older brother, but she can't date him because of the rules she has with her best friend, one of which is like siblings are off limits or something like that, which seems like it only goes one way. I don't think her bestie's going to be dating her brother, who's like 7.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a weird rule to have come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ends up kissing him at this kissing booth that they come up with. And this kissing booth business, I'm like, why are they even it's so inconsequential. and even the way that she kisses him in it, like, seems like he knows it's her.
Yeah.
And it only makes sense if they're both blindfolded. Then we get it. They're like, oh, there's chemistry and it's fate, and they're both that kiss was amazing. But she doesn't know it's him, but he knows it's her, and he is so leering and like predatory looking, and everybody's watching
because it was supposed to be somebody else going up for the kiss at that moment, and because he has this thing, the ugly nerd or whatever, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But because the older brother has the thing where he doesn't want any guy on earth to like be able to put hands on this woman, he like cuts in line and goes up there to kiss her. Yeah. And she's blindfolded and he is not blindfolded, but they kiss for like a second, and then she does take off the blindfold and they do more kissing. The whole kissing booth, the whole thing of it is strange to me. like
I thought that would be the big hook of the movie, but it's not a hook of the movie. It's just a kissing booth. And it's just like, there's no like, ooh, that's an interesting take. It is. And he is like, why is he waiting? Why is he kissing her at the kissing booth instead of some other, like, don't kiss. Like, there's a reason that movies, they get close to it and then they don't kiss, because there's no tension in the movie after the kiss. Like, the tension is just out the window, and they call the movie Kissing Booth. It just doesn't make any sense. And then the guy, oh man, there's just, I mean, I got to just kind of pick and choose what I want to critique, because there's just so much. Like every
something that
scene
happens before we get to the kissing booth is
I'm skipping. I'm going crazy here, but
you're okay. We've been pent up. We've been needing to pop off.
Yeah.
But before we get to the kissing booth is the scene in the locker room where she they had a paint fight. I guess they were literally throwing entire buckets of paint on each other in school.
Latex paint. Yeah. Like just cracking up.
Already
and nobody's saying a thing. Yeah.
No.
Didn't buy any of that.
She has paint in her eyes or whatever and stumbles into the boys' locker room somehow because she can't see, as if she wouldn't know where she was anyway. But stumbles in there and takes off her shirt first thing without seeing what's going on or anything. And is wearing a bikini top, the same bikini top from the beginning of the movie, which is already weird. And the locker room is like, it's not even like a locker room. It's more like a barracks or something. Like, there's no lockers. There's just like benches with like pieces of wood hung up with like coat hooks on them, or towel hooks, I guess, so that the guys are like staggered level wise up and down. So there's like 200 guys in this locker room, all just looking at her in her bikini top. She decides, because the older brother is there and he's like, get out of here. We can't have the guys seeing you like this. And she decides to be defiant by putting on like a sexy dance in her bikini top for the guys in this locker room, who are like mad horny for this bikini top.
Yeah, they're going crazy. They're cheering. They're kind of dancing around.
They're like
her.
The mask, like their tongues rolling out of their mouth, like onto the ground, eyes going
like it's
huge.
It was like a strip club scene in the locker room.
And she's 16, and like
yeah, and then she starts to kind of prance out, and he like turns and gives her a look like Jacob Elordi's character, like, oh, you little devil, you.
Yeah, he's like mad.
And in that scene, I'm like, who is this scene? I was like, okay, clearly this is like for like 13, 15-year-old boys.
When she showed up at school in the miniskirt too, with just like her little undies hanging out, was kind of the same reaction. Like, everybody in school is there and they're all like, oh my God, awooga. Like, who is this babe with her little undies hanging out and her short skirt? Like, the horniest thing that these teens have ever seen is like a girl in a swim top and whitey tighties. Like, I just feel like you wouldn't be going awooga mode. Especially, she's not even like a popular girl. She's like a nerd, right?
Yeah, again, so if I'm that actor, you gotta turn to the director at some point and be like, why is this character doing this? What's this scene all about?
Yeah.
Like, there's just no intention behind it other than to titillate your audience. Like, it is so bonkers.
That one made me uncomfortable. I was so embarrassed for her.
Yeah, every single scene had like a moment where I'm like, what the fuck is this all about? Every single scene.
Yeah. I wrote down for that scene, this scene is clearly written by a man, and specifically a man I would not want anywhere near my children.
Yeah. This kissing booth, I gotta go back to the kissing booth.
Go to the kissing booth, yeah.
Her best friend
yeah.
kisses a random girl that we've never seen even,
yeah.
who's like 35. And they fall in love instantly, and he just walks away from this thing that they both
on the booth.
planned, this kissing booth.
He does one kiss, he's out, he's in love.
we don't know her. They're like star-crossed lovers, and she is so old, and it is so unnecessary. It's so unneeded. I don't understand it. I just don't understand any choices in this movie.
Do we even think that like any of these people would do a kissing booth? Like a kissing booth seems kind of nasty. I don't think it's like, do normal people do that stuff?
And even in the beginning when she proposes it, like, who wants to do it? And everyone's like, no. But then the kissing booth scene, they're all like, yeah. And they're all
the whole school is in the audience cheering, clapping. Full body makeouts too. Not just like pecs. Not a peck. And they even had set up a rule of like, oh, we're not going to do tongues or whatever, but they're doing all kinds of tongues. They're like, arms are involved, like legs are coming up.
Yeah, they're like grabbing each other and like feeling each other up, and it's like, what? Like, so again, like, I'm just like, there's a reason.
Are kissing booths real?
I think they're real in movies.
I've only seen something similar one time, and it was gross. But that was, do you know the band Mindless Self-Indulgence? I hate to start a sentence with that. But I went to one of their shows as a teen at an all-ages venue. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Urine from that band did, after the show, if you paid him $1, he'd give you a kiss on the lips. And there was a line for that, but it was pretty nasty. And I gotta say, I'm certain that illegal things took place based on the age of the audience and the age of the band.
I've seen them before too, and he would grab random guys in the audience and just make out with them.
Hell yeah.
Like in between songs or in between verses or something.
He definitely pissed on us too.
Oh my gosh.
The first couple songs, he kept going, man, we gotta go, man, we gotta go. I don't know, man, we gotta get out of here, we gotta go. And then after like the third song, he just peed on everyone, and he was like, we're good now, we can stay. This was an all-ages venue. I was 14.
Yep.
And then, did the kissing thing after the show.
You kissed him?
No, I didn't, but my friend did. He did the kissing thing, though. But that's just the only time I've even seen something like this, and my impression wasn't like, oh, that's like hot and sexy and cool. Yeah, it was like, this is like a gross man who probably has diseases and is like being a slut right now.
Yeah, this kissing booth is definitely hot and sexy is what they're going for. Yeah. And life-changing, and oh my goodness. Like, and I just think like normal, like preppy girls and stuff, like this is like a private school with rich kids. Like I just feel like they're not going to be into doing this nasty stuff. Yeah, because earlier in the movie they said, no, we're not into doing this nasty stuff.
Yeah.
and then so her best friend falls in love and she falls in love. You can't have two characters fall in love in the same scene. Like that doesn't make any sense. And there's no even like, oh, I liked you and now you like, there's no like triangle, there's no conflict. It's just like, I kissed your brother.
Yeah.
And that's the conflict. Because these rules that we came up with when we were little kids that we're still adhering to the point of ice cream will always make us feel better or we'll fix everything.
And the line that he said, so after they kiss, she goes back to find her bestie who's off with the girl he's madly in love with now to tell him like, oh, hey, ha ha ha, I kissed your brother at the kissing booth. The line that he says is... don't end up grinding coochies with my brother or I'll literally never talk to you again.
Yeah.
He said grinding coochies?
Yeah.
Some of the lines in this movie, man, they just really make you think.
Yeah.
Do kids people under the age of 30 even know the word coochie? That's so like my mom would say that.
Mm-hmm. And it
That
doesn't
one
even
had me
go
laughing.
along with his character. I mean, he was so worked up about this. Like, you better not, like, look at my brother. You better not think about my brother. And it's like, well, don't have sex with my brother and we'll be okay. And it's like, what is going on?
My initial impression at the beginning of the movie was like, maybe he's gonna, like, he secretly has a crush on her, so that's why he's trying to stop her. But it didn't go that way at all. So
no, because he just falls in love instantly as soon as he kisses some girl at the kissing booth. Like, that doesn't, so there's no tension. There's no, like...
Yeah. You're like, okay, well, I guess that wasn't
like Pretty in Pink is like, yo, Ducky wants to be with Molly Ringwald, but she wants the rich guy, and like that would make sense. Works. It works for a reason. Like movies do that for a reason.
Yeah.
And even like, oh man, they are. I'm actually cheating because I'm like watching some clips here.
You're watching clips while we're doing this?
Yeah. So I can remind myself. They're in that car, and they're driving the car, and it's like the worst like LED background or green screen. And I'm just like, man, why is this movie... I guess it's like, must have been like low budget. And this part 2 and part 3, part of me just wants to watch it. Part 2 is 2 hours and 12 minutes long. Ooh. Like, that is, what are they doing in part 2?
I think in part 2, they also introduce like a Latino lover type of like alternate love interest for her, which again is more like Twilight. So I just thought that was interesting.
Because so many moments feel cheap, and like this car scene is just so poorly done.
They had some really, like, there's a time when, so for a while, they confess their crush, whatever. They decide they're going to date like on the DL, and just brother cannot find out about it. And so for a while, they're like sneaking around trying to bang everywhere without anyone knowing, but they're teens, so everyone kind of knows. So at one point, she has to like jump out the window onto a trampoline, and the CGI that was put on her for this this trampoline while she's like, it's so long of her just bouncing completely CGI body on this trampoline, like, whoa, and then she has to end up in the pool. That was quite bad.
Yeah, so that's why I want to see part 2 to see if like because like, okay, you guys we're trying to scrape together this little movie, and so I forgive some of these things, but it's just some of it just lazy and dopey, and so like, oh geez, they have sex in front of the Hollywood sign, like that scene.
Oh my god.
They just have sex so much.
So he's like taking her,
there's no tension.
He was like taking her home. Oh yeah, because they were at like a beach party, and he wanted to whoop some guy's ass at the beach. And so to stop him from whooping ass, she has to constantly just control his temper. Like, let's get out of here, you know. So he's supposed to be taking her home, and she's like, this isn't the way home. And he's like, oh, I want to show you like a little place I have or whatever. And at first you don't know where they are. It just looks like, oh, we can see the whole city from here, like all of LA. We're like looking over it, and wow, this is my spot. But they wake up the next morning, and it does a zoom out, and then you see, yes, they have fucked in the L of the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
The two coolest places people in LA are always hanging out: Santa Monica Pier and the letters of the Hollywood sign. Don't you have to like hike up to that sign too? Like, isn't that...
You do, and you actually can't even get there because there's a fence.
Yeah.
But then he's like, when she finds
it's not like, I'm just
going
to take you to a little spot, like we can pull up to it real quick. It's like a whole thing to get there. And then you fuck in the L of the Hollywood sign.
He's like, this is where I come here by my... She's like, is this where you bring all the girls? He's like, no, I come up here by myself. And I'm just like, really? I don't buy that for a second, that this guy just like, I just need to drive up to the Hollywood sign and just think about life for a while. Yeah. Like, no, you don't.
And there are many other more accessible places that you can look over the whole city. Like, it's not like that's the only place that has like an overlook or something. You don't have to pick like such an insane location. I was screaming when I saw they were in the L of the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
And that's where they were in the L. Her name is L. Oh my God.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And that's where she lost her virginity. Wow, that's so crazy. After having to stop her boyfriend
like,
from
it's a movie about,
ass.
I think at the beginning it sets up that she's never even kissed a guy.
Yeah, I think that was her first kiss, right? Like at the kissing booth?
Yeah, and then it's like...
So like one day ago she had her first kiss, and the next day she's gonna fuck sexual style.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like if you like that's the premise of the movie, like a girl who's never been kissed.
Yeah.
And that would be the big climax of the movie, but it's like, no, they kiss and they just have sex a ton and it's all inconsequential. It's just like there's no gravity to anything. I just didn't care because it just like happens and it's ridiculous.
She kisses him one day, fucks him the next day, and let's not forget 20 minutes before this is the same guy who said, hey, when did you get the boobs?
Yeah.
And now she's like head over heels in love with him. I don't know.
It just wasn't rooting for anybody here.
Yeah. And they have to keep the relationship a secret so intensely that it like starts to get just kind of weird. It's like weird that you're keeping this such a secret.
But they're not, because they go to like the pier together and there's all these people. They go to all these public places everywhere. Yes. Like it doesn't make any sense.
But they only fuck in the home or at the L of the Hollywood sign. So in the home, everyone can find them. They're constantly like almost being walked in on or whatever.
Yeah. There's like a whole montage of them just being out in public together, trying to say like, don't let anybody see us.
Yeah. At the Santa Monica Pier, which as we know is where her bestie is favorite place to go. So I don't know. Just seems like they were kind of itching to get caught. But they kept it such a secret. And she even has like several opportunities to tell her bestie to his face, I'm fucking your brother. And chooses not to every time until the one time where he walks in right after her face is cut and they're both...
Her face is like gouged open, like it's a huge gaping wound. And it's like, dude, that needs stitches. Like it's over the top. Yeah. And he goes, and he walks in and he's like, what are you two doing? He's like, I'm trying to help her.
They're both being so fishy.
Yeah, did you beat her up? I didn't beat her up. And it's like, whoa, like guys are crazy. And it's like, and then like a scene later, he's like, okay, you guys aren't having sex. Cool. And then he walks back and he's like, hey, are you guys having sex? And it's like, yeah. And like that's like the big moment where he discovers that his best friend is having sex with his brother is just like him going, are you having sex? Yeah. Like,
well, first she says no. When they go outside, he goes, tell me straight up, what's going on between you two? Anything? And she's like, no, nothing. And then she's like, go to the car. I'll be right there. And goes back in to like make out with his brother some more. And that's when they get caught or whatever.
Oh, does he walk in?
Yeah, he walks in on them kissing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it's not what it looks like. But she had said no right to his face right then, and then goes back in the room with the older brother and says, I have to tell him tonight. It's got to be tonight. Well, if it has to be, why didn't you just tell him 2 seconds ago when he asked you straight up to your face?
Yeah.
And then the scene that follows this, like the unfurling of this, is so psychotic. Like how upset
so dramatic.
It's so dramatic.
They're beating each other up and she's screaming and it's like
screaming and crying, please, oh my God. Like
and so that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, I think I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they're just giving these teenagers just like these huge moments, like sex and violence and everybody's just like worked up and not trusting. Like it's like, just go like huge, crazy, emotional moments.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
It was so nuts. And when he's in the car, so she's doing all this screaming, crying. Her bestie's like about to pull out in the car and he's like crying because he found out she's like fucking his brother or whatever. And he says that line like, my whole life, he always got everything he ever wanted, and the only thing that I had that he didn't have was you. And like that's such a disgusting thing to say. Like you don't have me, like you don't own me. That's so, what a weird thing to say. So he says that and then like squeals off in his convertible, and then the older brother also like squeals off on his motorcycle. Meanwhile, she's at their house like now. Now she's just chilling at their house with no friend, no boyfriend, no ride. She doesn't drive.
There was a moment during that fight where I was like, because it changes tone so fast, and it's like, nope, all fun and games are over. And I was like, oh, Jacob Elordi is gonna kill his brother, and then I'll get this movie where it's like they set up this sweet
then I'll
little
be satisfied.
Then it'll be like, whoa, I get it. Like this is a bold, fucking brave movie to just like totally shift it and catch everybody off guard and just totally fuck with the audience. But it didn't do that. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to do that, but if it did that, I was like, okay, I am totally on your side of just like 50 minutes
We
of
needed
garbage.
the Joel punch-up on this.
Yeah, and then just like one scene that just totally changes the whole movie. That would have been amazing. But,
but
give me a break.
He lives.
Yeah.
And then the older brother basically drops out of school over this too, even though he's like, we find out so randomly that he's like going to Harvard. Like he's like low-key a genius.
Yeah, did I believe any of that?
It's always Harvard in these movies.
And then there
are other colleges.
He like talks to her dad or something, and he's like, and the dad's like, "Oh, you should stay away from her. You know, this is complicated, and I don't know if you know what you're getting into." And I'm like, "Okay, writers, like, give me that one line where we go, oh, like, okay." Instead, he goes like, I just love her." I was like, dude. Like, that was the moment, movie. Like, show us something new. Give him one line where we all get on his side. But he got nothing. He's got nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody has anything to say in this movie. This movie is saying nothing, and the characters are saying nothing. Like, this movie is saying nothing. Has nothing to say.
Nothing, except something weird. Just weird shit.
It is. It's really weird. And then at some point, near the end, they have this totally ridiculous, unbelievable prom that doesn't feel like a prom. Like, it just doesn't feel anything like a prom, and I can't relate to. I mean, I've never been to prom, but I've seen prom in movies, so I can relate to that. Yeah, and I just can't. And then
it was nothing like this.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
It like turns into like a First of all, they have a live band, which they always do in movies, and I feel like it's not real life. But then it like turns into a photography show for like somebody's
like this amazing gallery.
Yeah,
like,
which is
amazing,
cool. But I feel like you go for prom, you're not going to see like someone's photography.
I just didn't believe that they had those. The prints are like 8
huge
feet tall,
prints. Yeah.
And there's like the photos are awesome, even though we see him earlier take it with like his cell phone, like the guy.
Yeah.
And then they make somebody has recreated the kissing booth. First,
yeah.
Who did it?
It's like they're going through like a fun house. Like it's going from room to room. The entire school is at every part of this movie, by the way. Every party that they go to, every location that they go to, they're in the locker room, they're at prom, they're wherever they are. The entire school is like always there together.
Yeah.
Moving as a herd. It's so
and then when
strange.
They show that like kissing booth recreation, I was like, I literally was like, oh yeah, this is movie's kissing booth. Like I forgot there was a kissing booth at one point.
Yeah.
And somehow the movie is called this for some reason. And that this kissing booth was just such a major event in their senior year, your high school experience. So they had to recreate it. And I just didn't get any of that. I just didn't like buy any of that.
The kissing booth was also part of like a whole carnival where like every group in school had like their own little thing they were doing, a dunk tank or this and that.
Oh, it was all so fake, like the old strength. Like it was just all like classic carnival. I didn't buy any of it. It's all just movie.
Yeah. And so why is the kissing booth like the thing that's being celebrated? Like the whole rest of the school is just like, okay, we'll all fuck off. Like I guess the kissing booth was the thing or whatever because we saw like the hot guy kiss someone. It's like, I don't know. Like none of it makes sense.
No, and again, I'm trying to filter the whole experience through like, I'm not the audience for this. I'm not the audience. But also trying to figure like, does young teens respond to this? Like, what are they responding to? Would I have responded to this?
Yeah.
I just could not wrap my head around this fucking movie. Every single scene was so confusing.
And none of it seems like real to any teens experience. Like we're saying, like their prom doesn't seem like a prom. Everything they do, these kids are like so fucking rich too, is the other thing. Like their houses are like, I mean, just insane. Like the biggest houses you've ever seen. When they go to like some random party, it's like basically at like Jay-Z's mansion. Like it's so it's so huge and over the top. Everyone has a swimming pool. These boys, their bedrooms are like 4 times the size of my entire apartment.
Yeah,
like
floor to ceiling windows.
Yeah, like everyone's so fucking rich.
Yeah, so I'm like, is this how our kids? How can they relate to this? But then I think it's like this like quote unquote influencer culture. You know what I mean? Like everybody's trying to be a little bit cooler than they are, bigger than they are, have more money than they do. And I think that Kissing Booth just kind of is the embodiment of all of that scene. And it's like, oh, it's just a fantasy, but wouldn't that? I think my life is like that on social media or something. I don't know, man, because they are so rich, and everybody's got motorcycles and convertibles, and they just are all look, even when they wake up in the morning, they just look pristine with the makeup and the hair, and they never look ugly or they never look out of place. They just like, everything is just so shiny and beautiful, which I guess is part of, at some point at the end of the movie, she gets on his gigantic Harley Davidson motorcycle, and it's like, she's like a tiny little doll on this thing, and she's just clipping down the highway, and I'm just like, what? But I guess that some people like, yeah, that would be great to do, and I can do that. And so it's just like this fantasy where no one has flaws, and their flaws are like, they're quirky, but they're not quirky. They're just like dopey and one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I just trying to figure out how kids relate to this garbage, man. I call it garbage. I think this movie's garbage.
Wow, he said
sucks.
it.
I never say that about movies, and I hate to say that, and it sounds so dismissive, but I just, scene after scene, it just got worse and worse, and I think it ends with him in the car with a mask, and she didn't even realize that it wasn't him.
Yeah.
It's like, how dumb.
Getting there, it's like he shows up at
How dumb do you think we are?
He shows up at the prom at the kissing booth recreation, professes his love, Big Bro does. She's like, I can't love you because my bestie will disown me. Because he did disown her for a long period of time. They rebonded over like DDR. And so some time passes. They have a birthday party for the two of them because they are born on the same day at exactly the same minute. There's like a quick little like 10-second scene of them planning the birthday party where she's like, what do you want to do? I was thinking costume party. And his line is, hell's yes. You know, any chance to cross dress, I'm in. And that's the scene. And then he dresses up as Batman, so he's not even cross dressing. But what a fucking weird line to say.
Yeah.
And then they have this like, finally they like reconcile at the birthday, like, I love your brother and you just kind of have to deal with it, or we can't be friends. And he's like, all right, I'm cool with it then. Like, so they're supposed to be getting in the car to like go find the big brother, who is like on his way to Boston, like left that morning as far as anyone knows. So I don't know what their plan is in terms of like, is he driving to Boston? Like, are they just going to drive all the way to Boston from LA? I don't know. But instead, the big brother is the one who gets in the car in a Batman mask, and she does not notice, even though he is, as we have said, a 6'5" man. He's quite large. He is much larger than his quote-unquote younger brother, who that actor is actually a year older than him, which I think is funny. And so she does not notice that it is her boy toy in the car the whole time, and they get to confess their love. Then there's a gorgeous montage of them just being in love the next few weeks, spending every waking second together until they have to say goodbye when he gets on the plane to go to Harvard. And they're like, maybe we'll make it, maybe we won't. Time will tell. Yeah. Roll creds. We have some great post-creds scenes in this too, or like during mid-creds scenes. And by great, I mean terrible.
Yeah, you know what? The opening one, I specifically remember the opening one where it has the actor who plays Elle, and she's got the slate, and the slate says the title of the movie, which is Kissing Booth. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I just assumed that they called the movie Kissing Booth after because it had the word kiss in it, and it like attracted, because I was like, I assume this movie's called the Rules of Best Friends. Like that's the only thing, that's the only logical title for this movie, because it's not about the kissing booth.
Yeah.
Kissing Booth is just like a nothing side scene. But I was like, sure enough, the movie's it was originally called Kissing Booth. That's weird. This is not about a kissing booth. It's about the rules of best friends. Yeah. 100%.
You're right. That would have made a lot more sense, but that ain't how they went. I don't know if the books were called Kissing Booth.
They probably are.
They probably
I didn't do
are.
any research.
Yeah. There was also a mid-credit scene that was like an outtake from when they're at the carnival still, and the bestie is like saying like, I might get boobies tonight. And she goes, you would pick boobies over my awesomeness? And he's like, I would always choose boobies. Who is this? So weird and nasty.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Yeah. Like, it just felt bad for everybody involved.
I know Jacob Elordi has said that, like, he regrets doing these movies.
Really?
He doesn't like them. He never wanted to do them, but he was thinking, like, it's a one for them, one for me type thing. But it ended up being several for them and none for him for a while.
Yeah, because that was my only connection to, like, the fact that this was made in planet Earth where people have like brains was like, I was like, oh, that's the dude from Saltburn and Priscilla. Like, I
think this was his first movie. He had one other movie come out the same year as this, so I don't know which one was like technically first, but one of them was his first movie. So poor little fellow, bless his heart. I don't know how he got connected into this. He's Australian, so.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Australian, and this movie was filmed partially in South Africa, so I don't know, like,
really?
How? Yeah, it was filmed in South Africa and LA. So I don't know how he gets wrapped into this as someone who's never acted, basically.
Yeah,
and is like so wrong for the movie. Like,
yeah, like I just like if I'm casting that movie, yeah, like she's 5'1" maybe, and he's 6'. I'm like,
yeah,
they look great, but this isn't going to work on screen. This is going to be weird.
Yeah, it is so weird on screen. Like, individually, they're fine, but like together, it's weird. Like you said, it feels predatory. It doesn't feel right. It makes
perfect sense for Priscilla, as Elvis is like this older, dominating man. Yeah. That I get, like, great.
Yeah.
But this, no, I just felt really uncomfortable.
I wonder if she brought him into this because they were dating in real life.
They were dating before the movie?
Yeah, they started dating in 2017, I think. And
oh.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I really have no idea how he got connected to it. I'm just kind of spitballing, but I wonder if that was the thing. Because she did have acting credits before this. She was in like some Disney stuff and some other things. So, I don't know. It's interesting, though.
And I think both of them, they're great. They're like competent actors.
Yeah.
I didn't think their performance, I just didn't think they had anything to do. And what they did have to do was just like kind of somewhat demeaning and just kind of gross and weird. So I just felt bad. I just felt bad for everybody as they were saying their lines and behaving the way they were.
Yeah, I agree. I felt bad and cringed for them a lot, especially the young woman. You just hate to see some of the things she was put through for this.
Yeah.
Really very little redeeming qualities about this movie.
Yeah, it
like,
really is.
If you try and think of like any point, like, is the cinematography gorgeous? No. Like, are the effects good? No. Are the sets good? No. Like, there's really kind of
yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing for me to latch onto and appreciate.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a point in the movie about a little after halfway, I was like, I feel like I am becoming a worse filmmaker for watching this. Like, this is a
You're
bad
gonna be
influence.
negatively influenced.
Yeah, like it's taking away my ability to tell a story properly. Like, I'll forget because I watched Kissing Booth and like, oh, I don't remember how to develop a character. Just thinking about Elle Evans. Like, I really did feel that way. Like when you're eating like bad pizza, which doesn't exist, and you're like, or like you get sick from like I used to drink a lot of LaCroix, and then I got the flu, and I threw up LaCroix, and I never wanted to drink LaCroix for a long time, and I was afraid like watching this movie. I was like, I don't want to watch movies or make movies because it's leaving it's such a bad imprint, a taste in my mouth.
This movie killed your interest in film.
Yeah, and my instincts. It's just like messing up my instincts. And on set, I'm going to like make the wrong decisions because I got Kissing Booth burned into my brain. Like, I really, really just didn't want to finish it at some point.
Oh my God. I know. It was really bad. I'm so fascinated by how you make sequels out of this.
Well, I mean, I get it. I'm sure it made a ton of dough.
Yeah.
I don't know how Netflix measures things. I guess just like clicks or something.
It's
weird.
idea.
How do you this movie made 50 million? How do you do that with a Netflix original? Did it make money?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. It's like you would think it'd be tied to ads, but Netflix doesn't really have ads.
Yes, they do.
Do they now?
Dude, I divorced Netflix long ago, and when I realized that this was the only platform it was on, I had to restart my Netflix account to watch fucking Kissing Booth. So right there, they made $6.99. They grossed
Okay, they got your ass. I actually think I watched this movie just in the nick of time because I was using a friend's Netflix, of course. I'm not giving these creeps money. But this is like, I've been through a couple friends' Netflix accounts now because after a while, it will stop you and be like, you're not part of this household. Like, let us send you a text with a code or something to like verify if you're in this household because you're not on the same Wi-Fi as the rest of the devices. It's kind of crazy, but I tried to rewatch this again before we recorded or just like skim through it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I turned it on and Netflix stopped me. So I think I got my last movie that I could watch on Netflix for the time being. I got busted.
Yeah, because when I signed up, it said, do you want to pay for the ad-free or the ad membership? And I was
must
like,
be new.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think so. Because it wasn't like that back when I used to pay for it regularly.
Yeah, so I don't know how they figure out the money on how much a movie makes. I think it is just click based. I think, I mean, there is like, you always hear about how people don't make residuals from anything on streaming for the same reason. Like, I don't know, it's hard to, and Netflix famously like doesn't release their numbers on anything too.
Right.
But this was, from what I read, only the second Netflix original film to get a sequel because it was so popular. So apparently there was lots of views on this thing.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you why. I think maybe the Wattpad thing or whatever it's called boosted its interest a little bit potentially.
Yeah, had a built-in audience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really read anyone liking the movie though.
And I thought it would have been great to come on here and just be like, hell yeah, I'm going to defend Kissing Booth because it was like, it had some serious like cred going for it, and it did some bold things, and I understand its appeal.
And that can totally happen, you know? I've picked dumbass movies and been like stoked on it, but unfortunately, I don't think this was one of them.
No, I really wanted to like it.
Yeah,
I wanted to get into it.
It was a good Hellraiser move to pick it.
Hell yeah!
So, out of 5, what are you rating this?
How low can you go?
I think.
Can you go 0?
I think half a star is the lowest. It goes by Letterboxd rules.
I'm not even trying to be like a jerk or funny, but it's half a star for me.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. I would say, probably also a half. Maybe 1 star. Just because I was laughing when they fucked in the L of the Hollywood sign.
Okay.
And when he said grinding coochies, I was laughing. That's just so dumb that it did get a laugh out of me. So maybe a laugh's worth a half, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll go for a star. And would we recommend this to anyone else? I'd have to say no.
I would recommend it just to see like a perfectly bad movie, but not a fun bad movie. It's not a fun bad movie.
It's not a fun bad movie. It is truly just bad.
Yeah.
Hard to watch.
Yeah, like really just bum me out bad.
As you've said, it killed your love for filmmaking.
Yeah.
So don't make anyone watch this that you intend to work with, or you'll kill their thing too.
That being said, there is a strange, perverse curiosity for me to watch the second one. Like I do, because it's 2 hours and 12 minutes. So I'm like, this is like going to be the epic kissing. They're going for it with the second one. They've got something to say. I
do know in the second and third ones that Joey King has to wear a wig because those are post the act where she shaved her head. So she's wigged up in those ones. Although she seemed kind of wigged up in half of this too, but there's no mention of it online.
Wait, what? What did you? She shaved her head? Mm-hmm. What am I missing?
Have you seen the act?
The act.
Yeah. With Gypsy Rose's story. And it has Patricia Arquette.
No, I've not seen the act.
Oh, okay, so it's a show on, I think it's on Hulu.
It's a series?
It's a series, but it's limited. Yeah. I think it's only 1 season. But it's based on a real story of a girl who had like Munchausen's by proxy or whatever. Like it's where like her mom makes her sick. So it's like a real story about Patricia Arquette plays the mom. Joey King plays the daughter who is ill. And the mom just like does all this fucked up stuff to her constantly, and then she ended up killing her mom and went to prison for it.
Huh.
It's a real story, like this is a real person or whatever, but Joey King plays the girl in that show, but at a certain point she has to shave her head. So she shaved her head, so in the second and third kissing booths she's bald, so she had to be wigged up.
I saw a lot of people wearing wigs in this movie.
Yeah. I felt like she was wearing a wig in part of this, at least as well. Like her hair really did seem wiggly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of wiggly vibes.
And it's like there was no discernible part or something, like how a wig might be and not how a hair might be. Hair always has a part, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's all I know about the second and third ones for the most part.
Now it's time for ScreenVomit.
Part of the pod where we talk about what else we've been watching lately. So stuff that's bringing you joy. That's not this. What other kind of crap you been watching lately?
I just watched the second Dune, which was fine.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
I liked it, but it wasn't like... Sometimes you accidentally go into these movies and you have just read the greatest science fiction of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
you were
okay,
oversold.
Bring me the greatest science fiction film of all time. And it wasn't... But
what was the watching vibe? Was this a theater?
Oh yeah, theater.
Did you go IMAX?
No, my choice was IMAX or the theater that has Dolby Atmos sound, which is like has speakers in your chair.
Yeah.
And I chose that.
Okay.
I wanted the sound more than the big screen.
Yeah.
Also, the IMAX theater in our town is like uncomfortable chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was like a long one.
Yeah.
So I wanted like
Recliner.
the big recliners with the speakers in there.
Nice. You get a little
looked
booty
ahead,
rumble?
Yeah, and I was the only person in the theater. Like, I checked ahead. I was like the only one there. It was like it was like a 9 in the morning screening, which is amazing.
Okay.
I love that.
I saw it at the Indiana State Museum IMAX, which is like an extraordinarily large IMAX. It's like that's the only screen there. It's huge on 70 millimeter. And it was like the biggest screen I've ever seen in my life. And it was chock full of people. And they did not want anyone to watch the credits, which I was kind of bummed about. They
didn't want to watch. They didn't want anybody to watch the credits.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
They put up a like screen before the movie that said there are no mid credits or end credits scenes on this film. And then as soon as directed by Denis Villeneuve came up, they flicked on the lights and were like, "Everybody, go up the stairs to get out of here!" And it was like, you got to get out this second. Like they were.
Why did they have another? They were trying to show it again.
I don't
right away?
think so. Is the thing. I'm pretty sure it was the last showing of the night. So I don't know what the deal was, but I'm a credits head. I don't think I've seen a whole movie till I've seen all the credits, personally.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so I was pretty bummed about that. How they basically kicked us out of the theater as soon as the second that the credits started. They were like, get the fuck out of here. So I was pretty bummed about that. But watching it on the huge screen was really cool.
Yeah. I thought I was watching going to watch Ferrari last weekend, but I accidentally watched Ford versus Ferrari, which never happens that I accidentally watched the wrong movie. I just was like,
they're pretty different movies.
Yeah, I was just like, and the worst part about it is that I watched it on Tubi.
Oh no,
which is
with
so
ads.
Commercials. Because I was like, whoa, Ferrari's on Tubi already? Like they're fast. And then I just like. Because I didn't really care about Ferrari or Ford versus Ferrari, but somebody mentioned it. I was like, oh, let me just get a little taste. Sometimes I'll just be like, let me just taste the first 5 minutes. And I was like, it was there. And so I was watching Ford versus Ferrari and going, because I like Adam Driver a lot.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of get his flavor of, was he going to hook me? And about halfway through the movie, I was like, come on, where's Adam Driver? This is going to be a big reveal. And then I was like,
you got halfway through the movie before you?
I was halfway through before I realized what was going on. Which is so dopey.
So
I never make those mistakes. Like I know what I'm doing. Then other than that, I watched Good Morning by Ozu, which is great.
Good Morning. Really I don't know this one.
It's post World War II Japan. Kids just trying to convince their parents to get a TV, one of these newfangled inventions called a TV, so they can watch sumo wrestling. That's the whole movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Ferrari. I saw Ferrari in the theaters. The very opening scene, hilarious. And then there's like 2 good scenes in the movie of just violence and gore. And other than that, it's not really worth it. But if you can watch those 3 things, that's all you need. Okay, I watched a couple things recently. I did a micro feature, double feature night recently with a pal. So I watched Mother Schmuckers, which is a French micro feature, like a wild romp of two chaotic brothers trying to get their mom's dog back. Very funny, crazy, insane film. And then Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, which is like a Japanese film where people time travel through televisions in a cafe. I've seen both of them before, but it was a really good pair and really fun movies, both of them really good.
They both sound pretty awesome.
They're really good. Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes is like so creative. It's a what do you call it? Like a one-shot movie too.
Oh, okay.
And how crazy they go with this small concept of that there's a TV in a cafe where you can see 2 minutes into the future. Just 2 minutes. How crazy they go from there is like you cannot see any of it coming. It's so insane. And it's also just like a really sweet movie too. And it's only an hour.
I'm adding this to my list. What's it called again? 2 minutes?
Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes.
Beyond the Infinite 2 minutes.
Yeah. And it's just an hour movie. Both of them are. Mother Schmuckers too. So I recommend both those movies. I like them both. And then I've been doing a Chris Bell marathon, otherwise known as Christopher Jason Bell professionally. He has a couple films that I really liked that I watched recently, which are one called Incorrectional and one called Failed State. I think Failed State is just doing festivals right now, so it's not really out. But I really like his movies. He's got a really good ability to either do just straight up documentary, blended documentary, or films that are so sort of real that they feel like documentary even when they're not. So I really like his movies. So I loved Failed State. That's his new one. And it has Dale Smith in it, who also stars in his short film Trammel, which I love a lot too. And then one more that I'll say is this movie called Driver 23, which I saw when I was in New York recently. I'd never heard of it, but it's pretty much exactly like American Movie, except for a guy who is a musician trying to make an album instead of like a filmmaker trying to make a short film.
Ooh, I want to see that. That's one of my favorites is American Movie.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
It's called Driver 23. I have no idea if you can find it somewhere. I watched it in a theater. It's also from 1999, so it's from the same year. It's from based in Minneapolis, so it's not the same state, but same region.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's like the same type of thing where it's, you know, these guys are just like characters doing their thing. He's a rocker trying to make a rock album, and will he ever make it? You know, time will tell. I had never heard of it. I saw it at Spectacle in New York, which is always just kind of showing stuff that I've never heard of, but sounds cool. And I'll just go check out whenever I'm up there. And so that was something I saw, and I thought it was really fun and couldn't believe I'd never heard of it.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So look, I got you some cool stuff to check out.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. There goes the next
Anytime.
2 weeks of my life trying to get through a feature film.
Hell yeah. At least these are pretty short, I think. Basically everything I just said is pretty short. We can go to plugs. Do you got anything to plug? You have you got a new movie cooking.
Yeah, I don't play. There's nothing for me to plug. It's not the festival announcement hasn't been made yet, so I have a new movie called Vulcanizadora. Look for it sometime this year.
And we don't know when, but sometime, ominously.
This summer, Vulcanizadora, early summer.
Okay,
shall start to make its rounds.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Is this a Y2K?
No, it is not a Y2K.
Okay. We're going different.
It is a Y 2024.
I have intentionally not gotten any details from our friends.
Good, because if they tell you any details, I'll be really pissed, because we're keeping everything top secret.
I didn't ask any questions because, like, I want to know, but I don't want to know. I would rather see your movies without knowing anything about them.
Good. That's how I want everybody. That's why I hate releasing trailers. I hate talking about. I just like go see. I don't watch trailers, and I don't read about movies in advance. I just like go blind, man.
Yeah.
Go blind.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to know shit. I watched Relaxer was your first movie that I saw, and I went based on the poster.
Cool.
But then when I watched the trailer, I think we watched it when we did the episode. I was like, this is the coolest trailer I've ever seen in my life. So despite hating trailers, you made a great trailer for the movie.
I didn't make that trailer. I had nothing to do with it, but I'll take it because I like that trailer too.
Well, I'm sure you gave the okay.
Yeah, I gave the okay on that trailer. I like that trailer.
So, hell yeah. Well, that's basically that's basically the episode. So I gotta say thank you so much for finally doing this with me.
Hell yeah, Kayla.
And for making
About
that
time.
freaky little shit that I love.
I'm glad somebody appreciates it.
Hell yeah. And I'll be anxiously awaiting the next one.
Okay.
Okay, bye everyone. Bye.
See you guys.
All right, got it. Cool. That's it, I guess.
Okay.
Send me some Frightflix cards.
Yeah. I'll send you some stuff. I'll send you this recording, some Frightflix cards. Whole deal.
Hell yeah.
All right, Kayla, I'm going to go have dinner.
All right, cool. Thanks for doing this, man.
Great to finally kind of meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for being such a great, dedicated follower of these movies and always interested in what we're doing. That's very cool.
Hell yeah, forever.
Okay.
I've made at least a couple dozen people watch the movies
Right.
on boots on the ground, putting it in people's DVD players.
I think
I've
you're
loaned out my personal copies several times.
I think you're going to love this next one.
I know I will. Are you kidding me?
It's going to make sense to you.
Hell yeah. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Okay.
It's about time.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you later.
Night, Kayla.
Bye.